All right, it is 9:23 in the evening for me. So, good evening, and got some things to cover today. Hope you'll find interesting. Please comment, like, share, subscribe. Uh, Turn on the notifications so you'll get a little ring-a-ling when things happen. New channel, but hoping to grow it up and make it something worthwhile. So here we go with the first thing we have to look at. Two foreign nationals indicted for a plot to silence U.S. dissident and smuggle U.S. military technology to China. Now, this is from the Department of Justice. Right there. It says justice.gov. It's real. Someone tried to tell me that justice.gov doesn't exist. That's something that you made up. I didn't make it up. There it is. Um, so let's take a look at the first paragraph here. It says a lot.
Federal grand juries in Milwaukee and Los Angeles each returned indictments charging two foreign nationals, Hui Guanggai, 43, of China, and John Miller, 63, of the United Kingdom and a U.S. lawful permanent resident, with interstate stalking and conspiracy to commit interstate stalking, Los Angeles, and conspiracy, smuggling, and violations of the Arms Export Control Act, Milwaukee.
So imagine that. You have a permanent U.S. citizen and you have a Chinese national, and they are trying to get American military technology to China. That's spying. That is, as far as I can tell, that is aiding the enemy or aiding anyone who would become hostile towards. And China has been hostile to us, with whether it be politically or financially, instead of militarily. They have been hostile. So that's not good. I mean, I'm really upset about that. So let's take a look at the second part here.
As alleged, the defendants targeted a U.S. resident for exercising his constitutional right to free speech and conspired to traffic sensitive American military technology to the Chinese regime, said Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. This is a blatant assault on both our national security and our democratic values. This Justice Department will not tolerate foreign repression on U.S. soil, nor will we allow hostile nations to infiltrate or exploit our defense systems. We will act decisively to expose and dismantle these threats wherever they emerge.
Now, they're harassing this American citizen for being pro-American. Think about that for a minute. That's treason. If you are attacking a country, whether it be from the outside or the inside, or you're trying to get their technologies, and if it's a U.S. citizen trying to give the technology to another country, that's treason. That's true. There's no other way to look at it.
The defendants allegedly plotted to harass and interfere with an individual who criticized the actions of the People's Republic of China while exercising their constitutionally protected free speech rights within the United States of America, said FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino. The same individuals also are charged with trying to obtain and export sensitive U.S. military technology to China. I want to commend the good work of the FBI and our partners in the U.S. and overseas in putting a stop to these illegal activities.
Dan Bongino, the assistant director for the FBI. Now, he said when he was doing his show on Rumble, he said that he could not confirm that he'd been offered that job, but if he was offered it, he wasn't sure that he would take it. But he took it. I did a little bit of research. Dan's taking a pay cut. His rumble was huge. So he's actually taken a pay cut, taking that job to work with Cash Patel. And let's see. There we go.
According to court documents, beginning in October 2023, Hui and Miller enlisted two individuals, Individual 1 and Individual 2, inside the United States to carry out a plot to prevent the victim from protesting President Xi's appearance at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation (APEC) summit in November 2023. The victim had previously made public statements in opposition to the policies and actions of the PRC government and President Xi.
So he's expressed views against what President Xi was doing, and that was bad enough to harass and threaten. And that's happening on U.S. soil now. That's not a pretend thing.
The indictment alleges that Chinese foreign actors targeted a victim in our nation because he criticized the Chinese government and its president, said U.S. Attorney Bill Essayli for the Central District of California. My office will continue to use all legal methods available to hold accountable foreign nationals engaging in criminal activity on our soil. Unbeknownst to Hui and Miller, Individual 1 and Individual 2 were affiliated with and acting at the direction of the FBI.
So it was a sting operation. The FBI knew something was going on, so they said, "Hey, we have to go and check this guy out." So they set up a deal with he set up a deal with FBI agents. Now, I'm not saying that makes them stupid. I'm just saying that you got to be situationally aware. You know, you work with certain types of people. You have to learn to spot markers in their behavior that says, "Hey, that person's a cop," you know, of some kind. And there are markers in people's behavior who are in law enforcement or investigative. And you can pretty much tell. I mean, not always, but most of the time, anyway.
In the weeks leading up to the APEC summit, Hui and Miller directed and coordinated an interstate scheme to surveil the victim, to install a tracking device on the victim's car, to slash the tires on the victim's car, and to purchase and destroy a pair of artistic statues created by the victim depicting President Xi and President Xi's wife.
Statues. So that they're destroying this person's property to make a statement. Hey, we're going to do some terrible things to you because you made fun of the leader of China. So, not quite sure why that stopped working, but we'll fix it here. Dun, dun. But these people,
Movies? Oh my gosh, I just absolutely.
these people that are going after U.S. citizens, that's I'm astounded that they're doing it on U.S. soil, but you remember that now. They're actually doing these things. They're attacking U.S. citizens on U.S. soil just for making fun of the leader of China. Just keep that in mind.
A similar scheme took place in the spring of 2025, after the victim announced that he planned to make public an online video feed depicting two new artistic statues of President Xi and his wife. In connection with these plots, Hui and Miller paid two other individuals, Individual 3 and Individual 4, approximately $36,500 to convince the victim to desist from the online display of the statues. Unbeknownst to Quee and Miller, Individual 3 and Individual 4
Bribery.
were also affiliated with and acting at the direction of the FBI. Allegations in the Eastern District of Wisconsin. According to court documents, beginning in November 2023, Miller and Quee solicited the procurement of U.S. defense articles, including missiles, air defense radar, drones, and cryptographic devices with associated crypto ignition keys for unlawful export from the United States to the People's Republic of China from two individuals, Individual 5 and Individual 6. In connection with the scheme, Quee and Miller discussed with Individuals 5 and 6 ways to export a cryptographic device from the United States to the People's Republic of China, including concealing the device in a blender, small electronics, or motor starter, and shipping the device first to Hong Kong.
Smuggling.
Quee and Miller paid approximately $10,000 as a deposit for the cryptographic device via a courier in the United States and a wire transfer to a U.S. bank account.
Wow. So now they're smuggling this stuff out of the United States, and they tried to by putting it inside of common small household appliances. This is not an accident. They didn't say, "Oops, oh, I didn't know that." They obviously made a conscious attempt to get these things out of the country without anybody finding out. That's smuggling.
If convicted, Quee and Miller face the following maximum penalties: 5 years in prison for conspiracy, 5 years in prison for interstate stalking, 20 years in prison for violation of the Arms Export Control Act, and 10 years in prison for smuggling. The FBI is investigating the case. The United States is coordinating with Serbian authorities regarding the pending extraditions of Quee and Miller from Serbia. Assistant U.S. Attorneys David Ryan and Amanda B. Elbegin for the Central District of California, Benjamin Tybelson for the Eastern District of Wisconsin, and trial attorneys Leslie Esbrook and Menno Goldman of the National Security Division's Counterintelligence and Export Control Section are prosecuting the cases, with valuable assistance provided by the Justice Department's Office of International Affairs.
40 years. 40 years. They're going to put these people away if they're convicted, possibly. The FBI is not a joke. Dan Bongino once made the statement that the FBI can do things when they investigate individuals. They can do things that you just wouldn't believe. So the technology is absolutely incredible. I am not an expert on the technology. However, I am not completely knowledgeless of the technology. And I will tell you that the little bit I know, it is absolutely astounding. You will not be able to get away with much at all. So that's just something to bear in mind. So here we go. This is for interstate stalking, the possible legal actions. And let's see now. There we go.
Interstate stalking is a serious criminal offense in the United States, and it can involve both federal and state legal actions. Here's a breakdown of possible legal actions and remedies. Federal legal actions. Under 18 U.S.C. Section 2261A, the federal law criminalizes interstate stalking, which includes traveling across state lines with the intent to harass, intimidate, or injure another person. Using the mail, internet, phone, or any electronic communication to engage in conduct that causes substantial emotional distress or fear of death and/or injury. Penalties. Federal felony charge. Up to 5 years in prison, more if aggravated, such as involving minors or weapons, restitution to victims. You can report to FBI, since it's a federal crime, U.S. Attorney's Office.
Always report what's happening, because you've heard the term, you see something, say something. Well, if you're being threatened, if you're being stalked, if you're being punished for just simply being an American on American soil, say something. Don't let it keep going on. They're not going to just stop if you stay quiet. They don't know how to treat people civilly. Now, let's see what we have here.
State legal actions. Each state has its own anti-stalking laws. Even if the stalker is in another state, the victim can usually file for a protective or restraining order in their own state. Press criminal charges through their local police or district attorney. State charges may include stalking or harassment, cyberstalking, threats or intimidation, violations of restraining orders, civil legal actions. In addition to criminal charges, victims may involve the courts.
So they can be charged by the feds for the stalking and harassment, threats, all of these things. But the victim can file a case too and take that person to court. They're not limited to just letting the feds do all the work. See? And you shouldn't. Don't ever count on anybody else to do a good turn for you. Take personal responsibility. Take action for yourself. Be proactive. If you're not, you're going to pay for it somehow. And it's never good. That's advice from somebody who knows. Here we go.
Civil remedies. Suing the stalker for damages, emotional distress, lost wages, therapy costs, tort claims, such as intentional infliction of emotional distress or invasion of privacy. Immediate steps a victim should take. Document everything. Keep records of texts, emails, calls, social media messages, and incidents. Report to law enforcement. Start a paper trail with local police and ask about a restraining order.
If it's not on paper, legally, if you want to get into the legalities of things, if it's not on paper, if it's not reported, if it's not made a record of it, it didn't happen. Don't put yourself in that situation. If it's not in a report on record somewhere, it didn't happen. Remember that. Here's a piece of advice right here.
Contact federal authorities. If there's an interstate element, reach out to the FBI. Speak with an attorney, especially one experienced in cybercrime or personal injury law.
Conspiracy to commit internet stalking. Possible legal ramifications here. Let's find out what this has to say.
Conspiracy to commit interstate stalking is a serious federal crime in the United States, and it can result in criminal charges, even if the stalking itself was not completed. Here's how the law treats conspiracy to commit interstate stalking and what legal actions are possible. Federal Legal Actions 1. Conspiracy Statute 18 U.S.C. Section 371. Under federal law, a conspiracy occurs when 2 or more people agree to commit a federal offense, and one of them commits an overt act in furtherance of that agreement. If the underlying crime is interstate stalking, under 18 U.S.C. Section 2261A, conspiracy to commit it is also a federal crime, even if the actual stalking never occurs. Penalties: up to 5 years in prison, or more if the underlying crime carries a higher penalty, fines, probation, and restitution to the victims too. Attempt or aiding and abetting 18 U.S.C. Section 2 and Section 3 if someone helps plan or facilitate interstate stalking, e.g., provides info, tools, or access, or encourages or directs another person to do it.
So all you have to do to get 5 years in prison is to plan a stalking activity, or to encourage someone else to plan or perpetrate a stalking. You don't even have to do it. It's just the fact that you were involved at all. You could be held as a accessory after the fact, accessory by association. Huge trouble. 5 years. 5 years of your life you're never going to get back. You're just simply being involved at all. Even discussing it with someone is a bad idea. So I'm just going to finish this part up right quick.
Hay can be charged with aiding and abetting accessory before, after the fact attempt to commit a federal crime. These carry the same penalties as if the person had committed the crime themselves.
Accessory after the
State
fact.
legal actions: many states have laws against criminal conspiracy. Solicitation to commit a crime. Aiding and abetting a person can be prosecuted under state laws if any part of the conspiracy or planning happened within the state, even if the stalking itself did not occur. Civil legal actions: victims can also file a civil lawsuit against the conspirators, seek damages for emotional distress, invasion of privacy, or other harm caused by the conspiracy. Use evidence of conspiracy to strengthen claims for a protective order or injunction. Recommended actions for victims or authorities: preserve evidence, texts, emails, call logs, social media messages, anything that shows planning or involvement. Report to the FBI, especially if communications crossed state lines. Contact local law enforcement. They may coordinate with federal authorities. Consult an attorney, especially one familiar with federal criminal law or civil stalking claims.
Always get the right kind of representation. Always get someone who has worked a specific kind of case that you have in the courts. If you do not have someone with experience in your type of case, it could be a recipe for disaster. Now, and even if the feds are involved, especially if the feds are involved, especially do not count on anyone else to do the right thing for you. Be proactive. Make sure it's happening. Ask questions. Dig. Do your research. If you don't know something that may be important to you, go find out. That's what I did. I dug up all this stuff. It wasn't hard at all. It was easy. If you don't know something that you might need to know, go find out. Violations of the Arms Export Control Act. Now that's when they were talking about moving the weapons around, over the U.S. borders. Serious stuff.
Violations of the Arms Export Control Act, ICA, 22 U.S.C. Section 2751 et seq. Are serious federal offenses in the United States. The AECA governs the export of defense articles and services and gives authority to the President, delegated to the U.S. Department of State's Directorate of Defense Trade Controls, DDTC, to control and restrict such exports in the interest of national security and foreign policy.
You've got to keep in mind that You are a citizen of a country, or you live in a country. It's not just you that you have to think about. If you get into trouble, or if someone is trying to hurt you, or get to you, or coerce you, and get you to do things against the country you're in, understand this. Understand this. This is important. All right? Take action. Do something. Contact the authorities. Get it reported. Get representation. And always stay on top of it. Because the United States has to maintain an image with the other countries around the rest of the world. And if they see our citizens as, well, stupid and weak, well, we're in trouble. We can't be appearing to be stupid and weak. You can't. That's bad. Now, here's some possible penalties, it says. Okay.
Here are the possible legal actions and penalties for violating the AECA. 1. Criminal prosecution. Violators may face prosecution under 22 U.S.C. Section 2778, Criminal Penalties. 18 U.S.C. Section 371, Conspiracy to defraud the U.S. 18 U.S.C. Section 554, Smuggling goods from the U.S. 18 U.S.C. Section 1001, False statements. Penalties.
There's that
Fines,
smuggling again.
up to $1 million per violation. Imprisonment, up to 20 years per violation. Seizure of goods. Defense articles, services can be seized and forfeited. Additional charges. Violations often come with related charges, e.g., money laundering, wire fraud.
Up to 20 years. And a fine up to $1 million per violation. Per violation. That's how serious this is. Okay.
Two, civil enforcement. The U.S. government can bring civil enforcement actions through the DDTC. Penalties, civil fines, up to $1,272,251 per violation, as of recent inflation adjustments. Consent agreements. Companies may enter into consent agreements with DDTC, often including payment of penalties. Appointment of special compliance officers. Implementation of corrective actions and compliance programs.
$1,272,251 per violation. And here's the thing now. Here's the thing. Since you don't know, the common individual, we don't know what they can constitute as a violation. So they could be stacking those up, and you wouldn't even know it unless you have proper representation. And I have to stress that. And that's not the only way they can get you, too. Here's a little something else.
3. Administrative sanctions. The Department of State may take the following actions: debarment, prohibition from participating in future exports under the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, ITAR. Suspension of licenses, revoking or suspending ITAR licenses or approvals. Denial of export privileges, broad restriction on access to U.S. defense markets or exports.
So if you have a license to move things across an international border, you can lose that license if you're caught doing some of these things. Here's the last little bit.
4. Other legal consequences. Corporate liability. Companies can be held liable for the actions of employees or subcontractors. Loss of contracts. U.S. government contractors can lose eligibility for federal contracts. Extradition. Non-U.S. persons may be extradited if involved in public listing. Entities can be listed on U.S. government watch lists, e.g., debarred parties list. Defenses and mitigating factors. Courts and agencies may consider voluntary disclosure of violations. Implementation of robust internal compliance programs. Cooperation with investigations. Lack of willful intent in certain cases, though strict liability may still apply under ETAR.
This is all information that you can use to defend yourself, to protect yourself. If you do not know something that you might need, go find out. The cultural thought is, well, I've thought about it this far. I don't have to think about it any further. This is where I can stop and I'm good. Okay, not good. It's not good. Don't think that. All right? Learn to think past that one certain point on any subject that you would normally stop and say, oh, well, there's the answer. Learn to think past that. Way past that. You will learn that you can be prepared for just about anything if you think past that barrier. It's not a wall, it's not a fence, it's not a deep river, it's not a mountain. It's a clean, well-mowed, open field that you can just walk across. And then keep thinking on something. Don't just stop because you think you've got the answer. Because 9 times out of 10, I have found that if I ever stopped at a point where I thought I had an answer, I'd be messed. Because there's so many things I didn't think of. Now, people say, "Well, you're just an overthinker." Okay, well, now hold on a second. That's not undersell short thinking. Overthinking. Overthinkers invented aeroplanes, automobiles, cell phones, the internet, satellites, rocket ships, right down to skateboards. Overthink anything in this world that it has been of any use to anybody came from the ideas put forth by an overthinker. Don't be afraid to be an overthinker. I mean, don't put yourself in the grave with it, but by golly, don't be afraid to be an overthinker. So, at this point, we have to buck the cultural thought. We have to go through that barrier. And you will find out that there's information you're going to need that's out there past that barrier. Whatever it is for you. And if you need to know it, go find out. If you don't know how to research effectively, try to find someone who does and get them to teach you a little bit about it. Because I'll tell you this, once you get the ball rolling and you start to see some commonalities on how to do some research on this and that, before you know it, you're going to find out all kinds of things. You will totally freak yourself out. I promise. So let's bear all that in mind. And please, comment, like, share, subscribe, and make sure to get those notifications because I have some other things planned. There's some videos coming. I've been doing almost a video a day, but I'm gonna have to take a break sooner or later because sometimes it gets a little, well, you get tired, mentally. You get kind of fried and basically just watch a Charlie Chan movie. just to empty out. But and I also have some visual limitations to make it very difficult. And that's another thing. If I'm sitting here and I'm half blind, and if I think that I need to know something, I go find out, and I find a way to do it. Will I always be able to do that? I don't know. I hope so. But if you need to know something, and I'll say this again, last time for this video, I promise, go find out. Start digging. Find out some things that just other people wouldn't think about. You might find it useful. Good Lord gave us a brain and an intellect. We are above the creatures of the forest in that way. So I'm going to take the opportunity to pick this as a stopping point. You're welcome. So God bless you, and God bless America, and good night.